Hey guys, Heidi Preeb here. Welcome back to my channel. If you are not new here, welcome to my channel. If you are, on this channel we talk a lot about Myers-Briggs, attachment theory, and any other theories or models that help us understand ourselves and other people. So today I wanted to not go on a rant per se, but have, I guess, a baby rant about something that I hear ENFPs and INFPs saying all of the time that I think is kind of BS. And what that thing is the idea that their entire lives would be solved or would be completely different if only they had more discipline. Now, I understand that there are cases where discipline is absolutely the answer to our problems. I did not feel like filming videos this morning. I felt like lying in my bed and reading a book for 7 hours. And if I had not had the discipline to get up and do this, you would not be watching this video. I would not have consistency on my YouTube channel, and over a long period of time, that would cause me to lose out on something that really brings me a lot of intrinsic joy in life. So yes, absolutely, there are many situations where discipline is what we need to help us to move towards a specific goal that we want. And discipline is what gets us through the days that feel difficult. So when we know there's somewhere we want to get to and we know exactly what we have to do to get there, discipline comes into play on the days where motivation does not win out, where we don't feel naturally energized or inclined to do something, but we know we kind of have to do it if we want to get to where we're going. So I'm not knocking discipline. I'm not saying it's something that we should not have, but I think that there is this kind of idealized version of discipline that lives inside the minds of INFPs and ENFPs that makes them believe if only I had it, all of my other problems would be solved. Because you might, for example, see one of your friends who is a TJ, exercising a lot of discipline in their lives and getting really big results, either career-wise, financially, health-wise, whatever it is. And so you might think to yourself, if only I had their level of discipline, I could have the same things that they have. You probably could, but what I want you to consider first is, do you want the things that they have? And do you want to go through the process that they go through on a daily repetitive basis in order to get those things? Would it truly be worth it for you? Because do you have the same love of the process that they might have? Or is it possible that discipline isn't the only problem? Is it possible that the problem is actually a lack of direction and a lack of knowing decisively where you want to get to? Because here's a thing that I believe very wholeheartedly. I believe that nobody has a natural lack of motivation. I really don't. I think that we just measure motivation in a very specific and very narrow way. So we see the people who wake up at 5 a.m. every day and do 100 push-ups and eat a power shake for breakfast and then are at work by 7 a.m. We see those people as hyper-motivated. But they're only really hyper-motivated towards specific types of external rewards that we have decided as a society is what we value. But it's possible that you are actually incredibly motivated and incredibly able to be disciplined if you were to pick a goal that actually fit with the life and the process that you want. So, for example, I told you at the beginning of this video, I would rather be lying in bed reading a book for 7 hours, right? And even I use that as an example of a lack of discipline. However, if I were in bed reading a book, I would probably be reading a book that would ultimately help me gain new perspectives or new thoughts or ideas on things that eventually I would naturally want to teach and funnel back into the world and maybe make videos about. And so for me, that actually, though it would appear on the surface to be a lack of discipline, maybe be bringing me ultimately towards a place where I can show up more authentically in the world as the person that I am, which is someone who loves to consume wide varieties of information, integrate that information, and then share it with other people. My process of getting there just would not look the same as a TJ who is at their desk at 7 a.m. every morning, because we are not working towards different end goals. And I think that a lot of the time with ENFPs and INFPs specifically, they talk about themselves as though they have no discipline, when really what they don't have is a clear idea of what their end goal is. And if you do not have a good idea of what your end goal is, it's actually not a great thing to have a lot of discipline, because that means that you would be spending all of your energy kind of going around in circles, right? Discipline is kind of like the gas in a car. So if you have a full tank of gas, but all you're doing with it is driving in circles, you're actually better off just sitting in a parking lot and not filling your gas tank up at all. Because wasting your energy on discipline in a direction you don't necessarily want to go in means that you are missing out on the other life lessons and life experiences you could be gathering in a non-disciplined way that would ultimately become very useful for you. So, bringing this back to cognitive functions. If you don't know what I mean when I say cognitive functions, I'm talking about extroverted intuition, introverted feeling, extroverted thinking, and introverted sensing, which are the 4 primary areas of processing in the ENFP's brain. I go over all of these in extreme detail in my 6-week ENFP Soul Bootcamp course. So if you want to learn more about these terms, you can check it out at my website on www.heidipriebe.com. I will throw the link in the description of this video. But the way that we process as ENFPs is through dominant extroverted intuition and auxiliary introverted feeling. And then our third function is extroverted thinking, right? So before we get to the place where we can really set up a clear path forward and really be sure of where we want to go, we first have to gather a ton of different perspectives and explore many different intellectual routes using NE. And then we have to decide which one we feel most aligned with, or which theories or ideas or perspectives we feel most inclined to build our lives around using introverted feeling. And then, and only then, should we be using TE and SI to discipline ourselves to behave a certain way or move in a certain direction. Okay? If we try to bypass the first two steps, bypass that exploratory process that NE needs to figure out what it's interested in, and bypass that check-in with ourselves that FI gives us, where we're able to align ourselves with what actually feels meaningful for us, using TE and SI will just feel like torture and like we are running on empty. Okay? Discipline should never feel like you are running on empty. It should feel like, even though some days it's annoying and some days you don't want it, you are ultimately working towards an end goal that energizes you along the way. Okay? I didn't want to get out of bed this morning. I didn't want to put on my makeup or set up my camera, but I knew that when I consistently post on YouTube, when I consistently have interesting conversations with people who are interested in the same things that I'm interested in, I am much more fulfilled in life. And that idea that I'm working towards a greater sense of fulfillment in life makes it feel very worth it for me to get out of bed, for me to set up my camera, for me to put my makeup on, even on the days when I don't feel like it. Same goes for health, right? When I don't feel like working out, when I don't feel like eating healthy, when I don't feel like doing these day-to-day process-oriented activities, I remind myself of the overall sense of vitality and strength and happiness that I get out of living in a healthy way. And all of these are examples of goals that motivate us in a positive direction towards an end result that we actually want. And if there is anything I believe, down to the core of my being, it is that we need to be intrinsically motivated and we need to be moving towards something that we find exciting in order for discipline to really work. Okay? Now, you might have, let's say, a TJ type telling you, I just force myself through it. I don't always want to get out of bed. I don't always feel excited about working towards my goals, but I force myself to do it anyways. And you have to remember that you need to translate what other people say into your own language, right? So when a TJ says that they are doing things they don't like to do, they are doing things that maybe cause them suffering, I'm sure that's true a certain amount of the time, but also keep in mind that someone who uses TE higher up in their cognitive stacking gets an intrinsic reward and value out of doing things in an organized way, right? So it's kind of like how with FI, sometimes you can enjoy a bad feeling. Sometimes TE can enjoy doing something that feels annoying in the moment because they know they have that greater sense of purpose around organization itself. Right? Even if they don't like what they're doing at a given point in time, they're overall more fulfilled when they're living in a more organized way because they're serving that higher value of organization in their environment. And the same will go for you once you find a goal or an end point that you want to get to that your FI feels very aligned with. If you have a sense of purpose and meaning as an NFP, I absolutely know that that will be a motivating factor for you even on the hard days, right? So if you're not feeling motivated, if you're not feeling disciplined, it's probably not because you're not forcing yourself hard enough. It's actually probably because you're trying to do the process wrong. You're trying to move directly to TE while bypassing all of the functions that for you come before extroverted thinking. If you can get clear on what your introverted feeling wants, your TE will step up to help you out. So will your SI. But a lot of the time, I think that when I see ENFPs talking about this lack of discipline, what the problem actually is that they have not spent enough time really moving through their extroverted intuition. Maybe you're not done gathering information. Maybe you're not done figuring out which perspectives are going to give you that flash of insight you need to decide which direction you want to move in, right? You cannot rush that information gathering process, and unfortunately, it sometimes takes many, many years. And in the meantime, of course, you're going to have to do things for work. You're going to have to do things to keep your life running smoothly that don't always feel super exciting. But if you feel like you have so much potential and yet you simply cannot discipline yourself enough to get to where you want to get to, consider what might be missing from your extroverted intuition or your introverted feeling that isn't yet kind of locking you into that action state. Because I know me and I know you guys, and when you really have something that you are excited about, that you're on fire with, that you want to share, nothing will stop you, right? The discipline is just one of many tools you will employ to get to that end destination. So I want you to consider the fact that if you feel like it is discipline you are lacking so deeply, it might actually be that you don't have the necessary conditions set up for discipline to flourish within. It's not a moral failing, it's not a measure of laziness, it might just be you not working with your natural energy and not orienting yourself in the direction that you truly want to go in. Okay, I don't believe in laziness for a second. But I do think that in the society we live in, it's very easy to lose your sense of purpose and direction. That is the hardest thing to find. That is the hardest thing to make decisions around. But once you're able to find what you feel aligned with and what gives you a purpose in life, everything else in your inferior function stacking naturally rises up to help you get to the place you want to get to. So I don't know what my call to action with this video is. Is it to be easier on ourselves? Is it to consider more holistically the way that we operate? A little bit of both. Once you do know where you want to get to and you feel very aligned with it on a true soul level, not just feeling like, oh, I should want that, that's a completely different thing, then there are lots of other videos of mine I could reference for you. One's around being productive, around habit formation, things like that, because again, we do need to use those inferior functions as tools to get us to our destination. But do not beat yourself up over not having enough discipline when truly what you don't have is a sense of meaning, purpose, and direction, because those things, your cognitive function stacking was built to help you figure out if you stop fighting yourself and let yourself actually show up in the world as the person who you truly are, right? All right, that's all I have to say for today on this topic. If at any point of the process of figuring out who you are, how to bring your natural energy to the table, and figure out where you want to go in life in a way that is actually aligned with who you are and not just a product of the expectations of other people, is something that you are struggling with or that you have struggled with in life, I do run a 6-week ENFP Soul Bootcamp program, which you can check out on my website, where we go over a ton of information about how to bring out more of your natural energy and align yourself with the kind of life you actually want to live. So I will leave the description to that in the link of this video. In the meantime, I love you guys. I hope you're taking care of yourselves, and I will see you back here again really soon.